I'm sure a few people in here know what it's like to know somebody who's been affected by drugs or abuses drugs in their life. But in my experience, I've seen that they get labeled a certain way that kind of like gets them ostracized or put into, they get in and out of correctional facilities, but nothing really ever works for them. But when you get to know them a little bit better, they have actual deep-rooted issues that could be fixed with some sort of other treatment. And so my claim is that the current correctional system doesn't, or fails to solve the problem of drug addiction in America. And this can be seen in a large amount of people in jail at the time of their arrest had drugs in their system. A large study was done across a wide range of cities, and they did both male and female subjects, and it was found in males that from 42 to 79%, varying per city, had drugs in their system at the time of their arrest, and for females it was 38 to 85% had drugs in their system. Now even if you take the lowest amount, that's still a very considerable amount of 38 and 42%. So drugs can be present in, or are present in crimes of all kinds, not just drug-related offenses such as selling drugs or being in possession of drugs. Being addicted to drugs starts with a combination of both genetic and environmental issues, and this leads to, when you start doing drugs, then it leads to a change in the way your neurotransmitters send signals, which leads to a lapse in judgment, which can cause crime. Now, as 68% of people who get arrested for a burglary when they get tested, they have test positive for drugs in their system, and 48% of people who test positive or who get arrested for a homicide also test positive for drugs. Now, once these people are incarcerated, there's a failure to properly treat them. Now, proper treatment has a few aspects to it, and that includes behavioral therapy, detoxification, medication to help with withdrawals, diagnoses if there's any other mental disorders to go along with that that could also be contributing to the drug addiction, and long-term check-ins to see if the person is continuing to do drugs. Now, two-thirds of jails in America fail to provide that for people, prison people in jail. And after they fail to provide that, 95% of people return to using drugs as soon as they're released. Now, they fail to provide these for people partly because they don't have the facilities to do so. Now, a lot of jails are in rural or small communities, and they don't have the proper facilities or staffing or funding to provide this to people. And the ones that do have it available, there's filtering processes that weed certain people out because their terms aren't long enough, they're not going to be in jail long enough to properly treat them. Their offenses aren't considered like needed for this because it's not really focused on that it was a drug-related offense, such as in violent crimes. And as it is right now, there is actually an alternative that does work, but it's not used nearly as much as the traditional court system. These are drug courts. Now, these are 6 times more likely to give a person the time that they need to recover in a treatment program. And these are separate courts that they focus specifically on finding the correct balance between the needs to make somebody pay for what they've done and the need to seek them treatment to help them get better. Now, in these treatments, in meth specifically, there's a 4-time longer length of abstinence from the drug average, and they reduce crime more than any other program after they have finished their sentencing. Thank you.
Right, Austin, the proposition's labeled, but the secondary points aren't laid out for us. And in the body of the speech, there's not really any signposting of those points as we go along. There's just a kind of an explanation of the processes that you happen to be talking about at any given point. So I think you need a little bit more structure with some declarative sentences that'll be easy for the audience to follow and listen to. There's some statistical information in the presentation. I thought you did a good job on providing a lot of data on that. What I didn't think you were as good on is providing sources for most of that data. I didn't hear source citation. I mean, I got 68% in one sentence. I got 2/3 in another place. 95%, 4 times more successful, 6 times more successful, 95% reduction. I'm going, and where does all this information come from? I don't get a source citation of any of that information in the presentation. I don't think that you made it up, but one of the things that we talked about is that in gaining credibility, the sources matter, and if you're going to give us statistics, we need to know. The only person who's going to know where that information came from is the person who got your bibliography, and the rest of us, we're not going to have any idea about that. So that, I think, is a problem. That's the biggest thing that I think is problematic here. There's a lot of statistical information in the presentation. I do think you needed to cite some more expert testimony on some of these things. When you talked about the drug courts, I thought, here's an opportunity for somebody to explain how the drug courts work, explain why they're more effective, and then you could fill in with the statistic afterwards, but all we got was really a couple of statistics, and again, without the sources. So that's the biggest problem with the presentation. Those would be the things to fix next time. All right.